action.
Done.
It's all done. Okay. All right. So I've got my notes.
So people that are listening to the
Kia ora.
Mark the Demystifier channel, excuse the dodgy start. This video is going out on Gwendoline's channel and my channel, but Gwendoline knows how to edit and I don't. So unfortunately you've got this kind of messy beginning. Just ignore it. Just pretend. We'll start in a minute.
Yeah, we're going to start in a minute, my friends, and welcome.
Talk
thank
amongst
you.
yourself
Yeah,
for a
talk
bit.
amongst yourselves for a minute. But thank you, Markie, for doing this with me. I really wanted to bring Markie into my channel. We kind of, you guys know that we're both psychotherapists, right? So, yeah, so that's, I wanted to borrow Markie's expertise and brilliance on this one.
Blimey.
And you'll see why
Brilliant.
in a second. Okay, let me do the intro for my people. Kia ora Tefano and welcome. So, you know this man? Have you seen this man?
Kia ora.
Kia ora, guys.
What a wanted poster.
Yeah, exactly. My beloved husband, Mark Lindsay Early, and Mark the Demystifier on YouTube. Go ahead and follow him. I'll add a link somewhere in the so you can see the link in the on the screen, and also just click it in the description bar below. Okay, we're talking about. Let's just give a trigger warning to everyone right now. We're talking about some really kind of serious themes that are very important and very necessary that we talk about them. But I just want to be respectful to any of you who might just not be having the day for listening to this kind of stuff today. And I hope what I'm going to say in a minute, if you decide you don't want to listen, guys, that you come back another day, okay? So basically, themes around child protection online, and the kinds of people who do bad things to children online, and thinking specifically, and this is going to be for you guys who are parents especially, thinking about the things that aren't very widely talked about but are super important, that will help you if you have them in mind, to protect your child or children, especially if they're young and they're online, which all children pretty much are online now. It's very rare, I think, for any child not to be, right?
Yeah, or they can get online.
Exactly.
Whatever you do, they can still.
Whatever you do. So I want you just to keep that in mind, okay? So that's the theme, and if, as I say, if that's not going to sit well with you, then just by all means, I'll see you in another one, okay, guys?
And we're going to touch on internet abuse to adults as well.
Yes.
Not just to children.
Yes, and I've got some examples of stuff that I've had experienced on YouTube, actually. So that's what kind of inspired the video.
Got us talking, didn't it?
It
we were
did.
quite intrigued. So
Yeah.
interested to hear from viewers to find out if you know any more or can add to the discussion.
Absolutely. So thank you guys. If you are staying with us, really appreciate you being here. Okay, guys, so where should we begin? Because I've got my notes here, because there's quite a lot to keep in mind with this, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but at the same time, there were certain things I really wanted to cover, okay? So I think to start with, maybe we should give resources right from the get-go. Markie, what'd you say?
Yeah.
One of the things was NetSafe. Mark, you
Yeah,
switched me
let's
on
be
to
careful here, because I always say Netflix when I mean
No,
Netsafe.
NetSafe.
I did a talk the other day and I kept saying Netflix all the time.
Oh, crikey, okay.
So NetSafe is a brilliant organisation with a website, and they've got loads of guidance on, first of all, how to keep yourself out of trouble, but also if you get into trouble, what to do. So it's got stuff like
online.
If somebody puts a naked picture of you up online, on what do you do, what can you do about that? It's got all that information on it and more. It's got everything you can think of, really.
Yeah, it's great, and especially directed again at parents and people, carers of children. So yeah, I really recommend it. I'm kind of new to it, but it's a really great resource. And there's another website with an article that I am going to reference later, and I'll share the link with you, Markie, because it was so good in terms of when we're going to touch on kind of the things that social media apps do. That, when you kind of use Facebook, for example, and you come off, you might use it, message a friend or whatever, and then later on you see this advert for toe clippers, and you mention doing your nails, your toenails, and you're like, how the hell, they must be listening to me. I'm sure many of us have had that experience, right? I guess to my mind, people say there's no way they can do it. It's really cumbersome. The technology just wouldn't work, and you would easily be able to know because it would drain your own phone resources. I don't quite buy that argument. In 2020 and beyond, I think now the technology probably exists to do it very easily in a way that you would never know.
Yeah.
But don't listen to me.
We watched that
data
Edward
says
Snowden
you can't
video,
do it.
didn't we, years ago?
Yeah.
That was talking about how easy it is for
That was
for that to be
ages
done.
ago,
Yeah,
you know.
long time. So it would have only got easier. Since
Absolutely. So that, you know, take that with a pinch of salt, or as you will. But I'll give you an example of example of me using a social media app that will remain nameless, but you'll guess it immediately. Where I felt that was happening really seriously, and it was the thing that actually just made me decide to leave. Probably there at the moment there's a question mark about who's going to own them going forward. I'm not going to name this app for various reasons. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're going with this. I think so. We've covered NetSafe. So it's netsafe.org.nz. Okay, guys. I mean, obviously it's a New Zealand website, but I think the information is relevant to everyone.
Most of it is general. I mean, some of the legal stuff is unique to this country, but a lot of the general information's just good for anyone, because it's all international, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's an international issue.
Exactly. So let's just give value to the parents first off, because if there are parents out there watching, I want to kind of cover a couple of things that aren't very widely talked about, that hopefully if you're switched onto this stuff, then you can just protect your child better. That's my wish and intention for this, sharing this information. It's not to freak you out. Okay, we have to balance all of this with the fact that children, if you've got a young child now in 2020, they're going to want to be on TikTok. They're going to want to be doing the dances and stuff. And so we have to always balance being super protective of them and bearing in mind that once they see certain things, they cannot unsee them. On the other hand, we have to give them enough freedom that they can still be children. So I'm not sharing any of this stuff to be, spread fear, but I'm really passionate about empowering parents and carers so that they can look after their children, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is, and this could be applicable to many, when I'm talking about social media apps, we're talking about TikTok, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about Instagram, we're talking about YouTube. So I'm not necessarily going to name each one as to where I've had the biggest issues, not always. But I want you just to keep in mind it could be any of those, and then you can do your own research if you so wish, if you want to find out more. The first thing I think, Markie, you're going to be really expert on this, is the issue of grooming. So this happens when, particularly on social media sites, when adult users with bad intentions, let's put it politely, pretend to be children. And then they may, basically profile your kid and say, oh, I'm a 7-year-old boy who's into, K-pop or whatever, Korean pop or whatever. And I see you are too, let's be friends. And your child, they'll make it really convincing. There's all sorts of things. I mean, stuff I don't even know, but I have no doubt. One thing I have no doubt about is and Markie, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, is the determination of some people who have those tendencies towards harmful behaviour and sexually harmful behaviour directed at children. They can be very determined and to learn about the technology to an extent that it makes it really hard to see where the truth is. So for your child, they don't have a chance. They're not going to know that it's not a 7-year-old kid in California. So what happens is, of course, they can get into DMs, like direct messages, get into conversations, private conversations that you have no clue about, and can get really dangerous. And we've heard of cases where kids have met up with they thought they were meeting up with other kids, and of course they meet with this adult. And let me give you another example based on my experience of being on a certain app. Let's just keep it simple. So I was on this certain app, and I'm followed by a lot of children on this app. I have at the moment 16,400 followers, and many of those are young moldy children. They're moldy kids, right? Because I kind of am very moldy centric in my approach. So I love moldy people, I love moldy culture. So it seems to be a lot of, not just, I have kids, African American kids follow me, white kids, it doesn't matter, but I just noticed that balance in my demographic. One thing I've noticed is that just the vulnerability of these kids. I had one kid say to me, I love you so much, Gwendoline, I really want to meet you, can I meet you? And they happen to live in New Zealand, this child. I think they were in Auckland. I don't live in Auckland, so straight off the bat it's not going to, but what struck me was just, it was almost preposterous how easy I thought it would be to do harm if I was that kind of a person. So that's the thing, and this conversation happened in broad daylight, in public. You could still find the thread if you put your mind to it. So I obviously didn't start having a conversation with this kid in DMs. Never do that, obviously. In fact, I don't even follow any children anymore.
So that just happened, you know.
That just happened.
So if somebody's actually engineering this stuff deliberately,
it's too easy.
Yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah.
And you know what I said to this child was that I was honoured, and I said, "Look, darling, that's so sweet, and I love that. But where's your mum? Who's your carer? Can we bring them into this even the conversation I wasn't comfortable having."
Yeah.
But they kept replying. You know, it turned into anyway. I say this again only to illustrate how easy it would be for predators to access, you know, really kind of intimate information from your child. In the end, that kid said, I told my mum and she likes you too, so she's happy for me to meet. But I just thought, that's terrible. It's like, they don't know me. I could be a monster, you know? So anyway, again, I'm not sharing to scare. I'm sharing to inform and empower you, okay, my friends? So, but grooming is obviously a problem.
I think the thing with grooming as well is it can be a very slow, gradual process.
Absolutely.
So people kind of think that, you know, the groomer's going to kind of, you know, get to the point quite quickly, but they're not necessarily. I mean, you know, they could be doing the same thing online with hundreds of different people.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
So they can play the slow game. So, you know, so they could go on for years, you know, all seeming quite innocent.
Absolutely, and building up that trust between the you know, the person and the child.
There's another resource actually, which it's a video. It's narrated by David Tennant, and it goes through a whole kind of scenario of grooming, and it's kind of aimed at kids. It's done in quite a gentle way.
Right, okay.
But very realistic as well, without being frightening.
Oh, that sounds
so
awesome. Resource. Yeah, link that. We'll link that somewhere, guys, if we can. So yeah, I guess all of that kind of is in the realm of creepy behaviour, and I suppose this could be a useful segue into the creepy behaviour that I've experienced online, and that I'm going to flag and name and shame. So watch out if you've been doing dodgy things in my comment section. Just remember, you know, I know that most of you guys in the community are wonderful people. We love you, and we appreciate your subscriptions. We appreciate your support and your loving comments and respectful comments. We know that that's mostly who we're talking to, but you get the odd person who is just got their own strange agenda, right? And the thing is, for those few, just keep in mind that we are psychotherapists. We cannot always talk about all the work we do. I am now sponsored by a legal firm. Do not think for 1 second that you get away with ish in my comment section. You might not get a reply, but don't think that nothing's going to happen, okay?
Yeah.
Because don't think that we will not report you, we'll block you, we'll take all the steps we can, because it's just not necessary. This is free content. You can take it or leave it. And that's not just the pervs and the strange people. It's the people who leave really shitty comments as well, okay? Really rude, disrespectful comments, okay? And, you know, there's still a question mark about this club I wanna start, which is, I actually renamed it. It was going to be the Tiny Aubergine Club. But actually, I quite like little dick energy, because that's what it is. It's like little dick energy, you know, when people say, or leave really snipey, horrible swearing at me. I mean, just go away, you know, just go away. You're like a mosquito.
Why go out of your way to put
It's so
unpleasant comment?
pathetic.
If you don't like something, just stop watching it.
Just
and watch
stop watching
something
it and go away. The whole internet, the world is yours. You know, you do not need to pollute my airspace.
You're not charged anything. It's
Do
not
you know
like
what I mean?
it's not like you're being cheated.
It's crazy, you know. But for those few, you know, you're only one step away, one step removed from, you know, authorities who will shut your ish down.
Yeah.
Shut you down, mate, okay?
We have zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance.
For any of that
So
kind.
don't think you get away with anything. If nothing else, I might curse you anyway. Okay, so yeah, and on that note, by the way, I just want to, I'm sick of this, because actually this is the second time, I'm going to pull someone's details up. This is the second time I've had problems with a particular user, and I'm going to flash their details up because I want you guys to see this. Let's see
And this is kind of new, isn't it? Or it's new to us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you want to begin to explain
And
that?
very kind of creepy. Well, yeah. I mean,
It's new to you.
I only really
isn't
found
it?
out about it today. Really, I kind of. So.
You carry on, Markie. I'm going to flash this up.
So it's when somebody comments on a video that somebody's done and puts a timestamp on it. I mean, it might be better you explain it more, really, because you.
Sure, I'm happy to. Yeah, no worries. So basically, what I learned, I mean, it's interesting, the synchronicity, because I was reading an article yesterday about a family who returned their Chinese adopted child. So this was a massive issue. Apparently, we just heard about it yesterday. We're so slow on. We're too busy. We're too booked and busy to be always involved with cultural stuff like that. But it was a huge thing.
Social scandal.
Yeah, we're too busy creating and not.
Which we won't get in. We won't get sidetracked by that.
We won't get sidetracked. But
it's a whole subject in itself. But just to make the point.
Yeah, this family who the Staufers, I may have mispronounced that. I apologise if I have mispronounced their name. But this family who unfortunately documented the whole process of adopting this child from China, and then realised that his difficulties and disabilities or differently abled qualities were too much for them, and they actually rehomed him as such. And as a result, this case was huge, and it blew up, and I knew that there were lots of things, lots of angry voices around this family and their actions. And I don't want to get involved with judging other people, because I can only imagine that would be devastating to go through something like that. But I think what was interesting is that in the course of that story, the whole issue of documenting the lives of children came into play, and Google along their journey kind of intersected. These things are not necessarily connected, guys, but there was an intersection where Google were actually fined. So I wrote this down, and I'll link it because I didn't want to give any information that isn't accurate. This is from the website is, let's see, who is it? I think it was I've forgotten the name of this thing now.
Oh, did you show the screen to both cameras?
I did. I certainly did. Yes. So it was like the New York Post. It was the article I wrote was the New York Post, and you might say, well, that's a rag mag or something. I don't know, but all I'm saying is that this is the quote. So after news outlets reported that paedophiles were time-stamping scenes in videos as a virtual bat signal to one another, this caused a huge uproar. And actually Google were fined, allegedly, according to this article, they were fined $170 million for violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, 1998, which the whole idea of that act is it protects online data of children. So Google were fined, which Google and YouTube are synonymous, basically, if you don't know that already. So the point is, that intersected, because obviously this family were documenting their lives of their family and their children. So it's interesting, this image I just showed you guys with the timestamp, it's the same thing. And we do wonder how many of you have had similar comments on your videos, right? Because although obviously I'm not a child, I don't show children in my videos, but it's the same principle. So it's like Hansel and Gretel, that fairy tale, leaving breadcrumbs for other people who are either predators, up to no good, basically, So I don't want to. And
we're kind of presuming, aren't we? We don't know, but presuming it's some kind of voyeuristic thing that at that particular point in the video, you said or did or looked something that would be a particular way that would be arousing to certain group of individuals.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really know what that was, because it's not like you kind of,
even know.
You didn't kind of take your clothes off or say anything kind of sexual
exactly
at that point. So what was what was that about?
It's crazy.
What kind of what is it? Is it kind of somebody that likes the way you say a certain word?
It could be anything, couldn't it? Right? We know how
that's kind of
particular people's fetishes can be.
Yeah, but and it's fine. It's fine to have we're not saying there's anything wrong with having a fetish or
take it elsewhere, man.
If you get turned on by something in a video, that's kind of your business, really, as long as you're not affecting the other person.
Exactly.
This is affecting the other person.
This is a violation.
And this is kind of creepy. It's like putting a sign by somebody's door or something.
Yeah,
isn't it?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
what's that about?
It's really strange. And I think the thing is, this particular user's name is John Lewis. I'll just flash it up again for you guys. I want to make sure you see this. And I'll make sure that anyone who does this, even though we know that's not your real name, we know you're just a little dick energy here. No one's going to show their picture because they're pathetic.
We had a look at John Lewis, didn't we? And
we tried to find this person, but
oh no, that's something else. No.
We tried to find this person, but obviously this is a fake name, fake account, fake. Because these people who do stuff like this, people who leave shitty comments, are really small people who live in the basement of their mothers, rotting away, and the peak moment of their activity of their day is probably leaving a comment like this, and having a God only knows what into a towel. So, you know, we know that these people are pretty pathetic. You know, it's pretty sad, you know, basically. And we know this person is no doubt not called John Lewis, and they've picked a name that happens to be a brand in the UK.
Yes,
it's
there's no slur on the
exactly my favourite brand.
The retail cooperative.
Exactly.
Which you like, don't you?
Which
You
I
love John
absolutely
Lewis,
love.
so,
yeah.
no slur on
yeah.
on
So you know, the thing that annoys me really is that I wish that with all the technology you have in 2020 and beyond, I just can't believe that YouTube can't do more about stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it's really hard, and maybe I'm a bit naive about the extent to which, you know, it's possible to eradicate that sort of stuff. But it does upset me.
It kind of makes me think a little bit of upskirting. It
Yes,
kind of feels a little bit like that. It's got the same quality to it.
Exactly, it's that same creepy kind of quality. So it's basically, guys, it's the same principle. That person timestamping my video is exactly what, you know, the paedophiles were doing with with videos that featured children at key moments. So, for example, if the child was in the bath or whatever, they would timestamp it and kind of leave a Hansel and Gretel bread trail for all those people who are, you know, disturbed individuals, basically. So don't just ignore things like that on your videos. Definitely report them and remove them, and definitely report this person.
God, yeah.
Please do report John Lewis as well.
And just think very carefully about how you feature your children online as well.
Please do, guys.
That's a whole. I think this is the thing: is there's a whole bunch of new problems that we didn't have. You know, that are coming with this technology that we've not really thought about before. So we're having to kind of constantly think. You know, adapt to new stuff, and it's changing all the time. It's not over. It's continuing. There's going to be more and more new threats, more and more new ways that people can kind of, you know, different ways that people can be creepy, really. It's never ending.
It really is. I'm sorry to give you that depressing news, but as psychotherapists who are very much involved in the protection and well-being of children, you know, we kind of have a bit of an inside scoop on certain things, and you know, so we're just saying it to be really real with you and really honest, and because I just think knowledge is power, and you know, you just want to do the best for your children. So yeah,
I think the internet, you know, it's the thing about not being a bystander, isn't it? It's like, you know, I always implore people to don't be a bystander on anything. You know, trolling, if somebody's really rude and abusive to somebody and you see it in the comment section of a video you're watching, challenge it. I do.
Yeah, why not?
And if you
or
see
at least
something
report
creepy,
it.
if you see something creepy, just because it's not on your channel, report it anyway. The more people that report something, the better.
Exactly.
So, you know, keep your eyes and ears open.
Exactly.
We're all able to do that. You know, we can all contribute to that.
Absolutely. It doesn't cost you anything, you know, and it will be a kindness to whoever's account it is that you don't just sit back and see that. I think the final point I wanted to make was coming back to this issue just briefly, because I think this will be useful for all of us to think about. And there's, again, this article I read that was brilliantly written, which was sort of not non-alarmist, and answering that question about, like, what we were speaking to a moment ago of, are our phones, you know, particularly social media apps, listening to us? So one of the things that I read in this article, I will link it so you can read it for yourself, was just about the differences between handsets. And, you know, I actually love iPhones. I'm not going to F with anything but iPhones. But it just so happens that according to this article, which I will reference, okay, Android phones have certain vulnerabilities to making it easier to kind of, this is my understanding, easier to access your data. So one of the things that in terms of, you know, are they listening? They're not listening according to this article, but what they are doing is tracking every single thing that they possibly can that you didn't even know you allowed, that you signed up. When you signed those terms, said, yes, I agree to blah, blah. You don't know
we
who
don't
reads
read
those.
all that stuff, do we?
No one reads it.
Agree. Yeah.
Exactly, agree. And then what you're actually saying yes to is things like this. I read that, you know, so even if you, you know, you text message with someone, or it may be, I may have misunderstood this, it may be like the in-message facilities in, like, for example, what is it in Facebook, darling, what's it called?
Oh, Messenger.
Messenger. Right. Maybe I misunderstood this, and maybe it's not your actual phone text message, but it read as though when you're sending a text to someone, even if you don't send it, those words that you were writing, the app can figure out and decipher and take in as information. So it's like you were going to say, I was going to buy a pair of socks, and then you go on your phone and you're being advertised, you know, socks are being, you're like, what the hell? You're freaked out. That's why, because they can actually, even to that detail, look at your messages, whether you send them or not. So the other thing I thought was really interesting about this article that I thought was really useful to think about is that the ways in which your phone is most useful to you are also its hugest, sorry, that's not a word, are also its biggest vulnerabilities, right? So the fact that you can online shop, that you can do your online banking, that you can, what was the other thing that I was reading? I just thought that was a brilliant way of thinking about it. Everything, your photographs, your, you know, that everything that makes your phone useful, it are the places where it's vulnerable to data mining, if you will, or kind of finding out things about you that you think that only your family and your friends know. The apps, you know, I think we're often giving permission to these apps that we're not aware of, that enables them to basically get this kind of information. I think that's what I wanted to say. So allegedly they're not listening. I mean, although I think they are. To be personally, I think they are. I think they are. But you know, and but they can do a lot more. That apparently, you know, some people say is actually worse than listening. I don't think there's anything worse than listening, to be honest. And the reason, you know, coming back to my story that I mentioned earlier, guys, just Mark and I recently had a really like heart-to-heart conversation, right? And I happened to have my phone there. Funnily enough, it crossed my mind, you know, to take the phone. I never discount intuition, guys. You know, you might think it's woo-woo. You might think, oh well, that's just, you know, not scientific. But it's interesting that I thought I should probably get my phone out of this room while we have this meaningful conversation. Anyway, the next day I went on this app. You know, sometimes with this, it shows you new content that you haven't necessarily like subscribed to, signed up for, as it were. And I swear to goodness, this little clip, this little video clip was so much, had such the same energy as that conversation we'd had the night before. I literally almost dropped my phone like it was on fire. You know, when you have a kind of, I don't know what else to say. So, and the funny thing is, I already thought that they were doing that anyway, but after that, it was like confirmed in my mind. I thought, okay, I really have to leave this app, seriously. So anyway, I share that again just so that you know, because this stuff is not, you know, people say, oh, conspiracy theorists, blah, blah, blah.
And we know that there's, you know, cyber attacks going on from nation to nation.
Yeah,
you know,
we know
they're
that
targeting
for sure.
businesses. You know, it'd be no great stretch to target individuals.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not fanciful.
No. So, I mean, this is covered a lot, my friends. I just hope that within it, you've been able to take something that is useful to you and your whānau. And really, you know, so much of what we do, Mark and I, is about protecting children, really. So, you know, that's really really the main reason why we've shared this. And I hope that you might find some value in it.
Yeah, so don't go away and become paranoid and, you know, hide in a cupboard.
Exactly.
But, you know, have fun, do the things that you enjoy online, but just kind of, you know, just keep your eyes open. Really.
Be mindful, and really learn the language as much as you can. You'll never be as digitally native to social media as your children are. You will never do it because they were born into this era. We are all, the rest of us are all catching up. But you can try and learn, you can educate yourself.
But although they're kind of internet savvy, they're naive.
They're naive, they haven't got that protection.
And us oldies, we're not naive, we're not internet savvy.
Exactly.
So it's kind of, we need to help each other.
Exactly, totally. That's a beautiful way of capturing it. And I think on that note, we'll finish. So thank you so much for joining me here, Markie. Really always a pleasure and a joy. Thank you. Thank you, my friends,
Rangimarie.
for joining us. Kia ora. Okay.